This is the Big O Show. This is the Big O Show.
They're ready to rock and roll, and there he is, Anthony Chiang of the Miami Herald, ready to talk a little basketball, because last night, the amazing run continues, Anthony. 123 to 116. A month ago, we were ready to blow the entire thing up, trade everybody. Who are these guys? Will they even make the playoffs? They're going to be in the play-in. They're going to struggle, this, that. And here they are, 3 wins away from making it to the NBA Finals, which would be just absolutely amazing. Now, I ask you this, and I talked about this earlier. Dynamics sometimes change things. And sometimes what they tell us, we're so used to and programmed. Well, you need a franchise quarterback to win the Super Bowl. Well, wait a minute. Peyton Manning with the Broncos did not look like one, and neither did Trent Dilfer, and neither did Nick Foles, and neither, and so there have been some teams that were so dominant that you didn't need a special quarterback to win. And in basketball, we've been programmed, Anthony, you need 2 or 3 stars in order to win, right? Shaq and Wade, or the big 3, or Ginobili, Parker, Duncan, and so on and so forth, right? But there are outliers, my man. There are. So the 76ers with Allen Iverson made it to the finals and lost to the Lakers on 1 star surrounded by role players. Dikembe Mutombo at that point was no longer a star, right? Eric Snow was a good player, but not really a star. 2 years ago, the Milwaukee Bucks win the title with 1 superstar and a whole bunch of role players, including one guy that Middleton is the same thing as Bam. Yeah, they have their nights, but they don't bring it every night because they're not stars. And we can have that argument about Bam and all that stuff.
Yeah.
So, to me, he's a super role player is what he is. He's not a star. Stars can carry you, and he's not that guy that carries you. He compliments you. So is this happening in your eyes, that it's once again that, they told us you can't do it? Well, guess what? You're right. You couldn't do it up until Iverson. But Antetokounmpo proved it to us 2 years ago that, you don't need that second superstar.
Right.
You just need that guy that's pretty damn good, and then other guys that know their role. Is that what we're seeing right now with the Miami Heat? The star and some key guys around them.
Yeah, to a certain extent, I think I agree with you. I think you and I have had this conversation before about Bam and whether he's a star or not, right?
He's definitely not a star.
Different definitions. But I think what we're seeing right now is a guy in Jimmy Butler who's, I'm not exaggerating here, like the numbers match up.
I know.
He's playing like Michael Jordan. He's putting up numbers in the playoffs that you look at who's done this, who's done that, who's averaged this many points on this shooting percentage. It's Michael Jordan and like maybe one other guy usually. That's it. Those are the lists he's on.
There's a guy on the chat board, I don't know who it was, but I glanced over and says, hey, man, Jimmy's doing more now with less than Wade did even. And he's right. And
I agree.
Can't argue, because Wade had Shaq and Zoe, and it helped him out in that year that they won. And then he got the big 3, and that helped him out also. And when he had Rasul Butler and company and all that, he could only get to the first round. And here's Jimmy Butler, bro, 1 shot away from the finals last year, and here he is again, 3 wins away. And then 3 years ago, he was in the finals. Dude, it's hard to argue that guy has gotten more with less than anybody else in the history of the Miami Heat.
He's made it now to the Eastern Conference Finals 3 times in 4 years with this group. He's 3 wins away from going to the finals twice in 4 years with this group, which, again, it's a good group. But like you said, there's no second superstar in this roster. We can argue whether Bam's a star or not, but there's no second superstar on this roster. It's Jimmy, which when Jimmy got here, we weren't even sure if he was a superstar, right? I think when he got here, the thought was he's a great number 2. They still need a number 1.
That's the way I looked at him.
Jimmy is a number 1. He is a number 1. He's proven that. He's made that very clear. I think to your point, to your question, what we're seeing is a guy, again, playing on an all-time level, playing at a Michael Jordan level, carrying this team on both ends. It's not just offense. Defensively, what he's doing on the ball. 6 steals last night. 3 steals in the final minutes of the game to kind of close it out. And then you're having a bunch of others step up around him. I think he had 6 guys score 15 points or more last night.
Yeah,
guys hitting timely threes. Bam Adebayo doing what he does on both ends, and and doing enough. It's incredible because not only because Jimmy is playing at a historic level, but this team, like you said a month ago, they were down by 3 points to the Bulls in that play-in game, facing elimination with like 3 minutes left.
I know.
And they win that game, and yeah, it felt good, but I think everybody, at least on the outside, was like, well, this is going to end in a week because
Yes.
we have no chance against Milwaukee.
Right.
And here we are, and I was talking to somebody, I'm like, I expect them at this point to win every game. Like, I don't even know how they lose anymore with the way they're playing. It's an incredible turnaround.
It's very 2003 playoff Marlins.
Sure, yeah.
That things are going your way, that Giannis gets injured. Things go your way, and then the second round, you're really not facing the Knicks. Come on, bro, please. It's because it comes out of New York and it gets all hyped. But I told everybody when that series started, the Knicks aren't anything, bro. They're just not. They're nothing to fear. Miami can beat those guys, and you got a break that you didn't get a great second round there. And then now here are the Celtics, and this is a team you're very familiar with. And if there's anything, the guy that has dog in him every single moment of every single day is Jimmy. Whereas that Jalen, that Tatum has more gifts offensively than Jimmy does any day of the week and twice on Sundays. He can score at will easier than Jimmy. The difference is the will that Jason Tatum has does not come close to Jimmy, because Jimmy has had to work for every single thing he's had, because he's kind of built this superstar from nothing, from a role player. There aren't a lot of players in the history of the game. They either come in as stars and they just are stars, but rarely do they come in like low draft picks and then they have to develop themselves into superstars. That's like, there's only a few of those kind of guys, and it's a special cut. And that's, I think, you look at Tatum and you go, man, this guy's super gifted.
Yeah, so skilled.
Skilled. But the difference between the driven, that hunger that Jimmy has, that's the difference between everybody on that court.
I think we're also seeing like he's at the peak of his powers because his brain is matching his athletic ability. He knows what to do in pretty much every single situation. You double him, he handles a double team so well. He dribbles out of it, finds the open guy, or sometimes shoots over it. He's like a machine right now. It's just he does not make many mistakes. You look at the turnovers, he doesn't, with all that usage that he has, for him to commit as few turnovers as he does I think is one of the things that gets overlooked about his game. The guy does not make many mistakes.
I've talked about this, all right? I've been around the block a couple times. This might be the 15th best Heat team that's sent to the playoffs. Okay? Seriously. You start looking around, all the big three teams, all the Shaq and Wade teams.
Shaq and Wade, yeah.
You look at the Timmy Zoe teams. Are you freaking kidding me? Way better than this team. That's why I'm saying this is truly amazing what's going on, because this is not even close to being one of the better Heat teams to get to the playoffs. And to get this out of this team, brother, it's impressive.
Let me ask you a question, because I've watched sports down here for the last 25 years, right? But do you remember a more improbable playoff run than this one?
Only I talked about it. The Marlins is the only one that comes close, but the difference where the Marlins are better than the Heat, so the Heat is even more of an outlier. The Marlins were the best team in the majors from May 1st on.
Yes,
when they called up Cabrera and Willis, they took off. So by the time they got to the playoffs, brother, remember, every 5 days Willis pitched. The freaking stadium was jam-packed. You remember the Randy Johnson, Dontrelle Willis?
I remember that.
My God. So the Heat sucked this year. The Panthers sucked this year. And then all of a sudden, they sneak into the playoffs.
Yeah. And even
it is the most on both ends, by the way.
Yeah.
Panthers and Heat.
And I would say the Heat is even more improbable because the Panthers started playing well.
And they have better players.
Right?
They have better players.
They have a really good top-end roster. Yeah.
Kachuk is a better superstar than Butler is because he's one of those automatic superstars from the day one that he came into the league. And then I start adding Bennett, Verhage, Montour, and
Barkov.
No. Barkov's not even the guy that I'm missing one more guy. Those 4 guys are dogs. Barkov is super skilled and all that kind of stuff, but the other 4 are like rabid freaking. Who am I missing? Bennett, Montour, Verhage. There's one more. There's one more badass that I'm forgetting. Can somebody help me out there? How am I forgetting this man? I am embarrassed. I am really embarrassed that I'm brain farting.
Sorry, I wish I could help you out, but
there's one more guy that I'm forgetting that's a freaking badass that's helping out. But anyway, those guys, and so to me, the Panthers actually have a much better supporting cast around Barkov and Kachuk than the Heat do. And so, yes, you are correct 1,000%. The most improbable playoff run we've ever seen is this one right here.
The Heat finished with a negative point differential in the regular season.
Right? No, I did not. Reinhardt. Right, there you go.
Okay. The Heat finished with a negative point differential in the regular season.
I know.
It's just, I mean, again,
think about it, bro.
It's hard to explain.
It's a great article for you. This might not even be a top 15 Heat team.
Yeah.
I started looking back at all the teams and thinking in my mind, going, all those Zoe and Timmy teams, there's a shitload of those teams that I put in front of this. They were loaded, bro.
Yeah.
Loaded, those teams. They had to deal with Michael. They had to deal with the Pacers. They had to deal with the Cavs. They had to deal with the Knicks. They had to deal with, there was one more that, and I mean, the Eastern Conference was, my God, it was
it was loaded. It was loaded.
Yeah, it was loaded. It was a war zone. And so that's why it was different for Miami in those days, and they couldn't win a title like a bunch of those other teams because you had to deal with freaking Michael. You know what I mean? But yeah, this run is. I'll give you something else. U2 has a song called Elevation, and this is the song they should be playing for the Miami Heat because Eric Spoelstra, with this run, has probably now, even though we kind of knew it, but kind of has now elevated himself where everybody around the league is going, that's probably the best coach in the league right now.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? That's kind of like the way they're looking at it. Jimmy Butler doing this again. He is elevating himself, and you said it earlier in the interview, to a superstar status, where a lot of us, like myself, I thought he was a number 2 at best.
I did too, honestly. Yeah.
A number 2 at best. I always said when you made the trade for Jimmy, you need to go make a trade for somebody one better than him, and then you can go win the title. And so far I'm wrong because you might be able to win the title with that, although Denver's a bitch. But here's the other elevation that's happening before our eyes. Jimmy Butler Jr. Who is it? Who did the fake in the beginning at the front end of the basket and then hit the back end of the basket?
Martin.
Exactly.
Yeah.
That's who's elevating his game at this moment. And we talked about it last year that even Jimmy said, yeah, Caleb needs to be me when I'm off the court.
Right.
Watch Caleb. He's the only guy on this team that has the characteristics that can play on both ends of the court. And watch him. He's got the skill set. He's got the mental toughness. He's the one guy that I give some hope. I like Gabe. I like Strus. I like those other guys.
And Kyle's playing very well too.
And Kyle's playing very well. Kyle's playing exceptional, actually.
Yeah.
I give him a lot of credit. Not playing like a star, but at least
in that role,
being at the key moment right now. He's being a great role player. But the elevation of Caleb Martin, I think, is extremely important, dude. Your thoughts on that?
Yeah, no, and I was talking to him actually earlier today for a story I'm writing tomorrow. I'll give you a quick preview. Late in the game 1, they were helping off of Caleb Martin a lot when Jimmy was driving into the paint. He was the guy they were helping off of. And who was the guy hitting the big threes in the fourth quarter? Caleb Martin.
Right.
This was something last year he did not do. Last year, if you remember, he didn't play much in that series against the Celtics because they were helping off of him and he wasn't hitting those shots. And he basically became unplayable. And he told me, he's like, I went into the offseason remembering that. And I said, that's not going to happen to me again. And, you know, again, it's a long series, but in game one, that work, that mindset paid off because they helped off of him again, just like he thought they would. And he made them pay for it. And yeah, I agree. I mean, just beyond that, like his two-way play, his ability to get it's not even just he's shooting almost 40% on threes, but his ability to create off the dribble, to finish around the basket, his defensive versatility. I mean, what a great contract he's under. We talk about the bad contracts that he had.
And we can talk about the bad ones, and that's a good one.
That's a great contract that he fell into there last offseason. So
that one balances out the Duncan one. You know what I mean? Although, you know, if Duncan can, you know, I know he didn't shoot well in the last game, but he has kind of built up his value a little bit.
He's playing better.
So, you know, maybe in the offseason you might be able to unload him, you know, for something. But I just go ahead.
It's just funny. Sorry, it's just funny that the conversation like a month ago would have been, how are they going to make changes to this roster? They're in cap hell. Now, I know some fans will disagree with this, but now some of the conversation will be, how do we keep this team together, right? Like, with all the Strus is a free agent, Gabe is a free agent. How do we make the money work? It just so much has changed in a matter of like 4 or 5 weeks.
Yeah, it's great. Now the question is this real or is it an aberration?
Yeah,
that's what you also have to ask yourself. Are you just on a hot streak because you went through 82 games where you didn't shoot 51% from 3-point range? My God, you were terrible from 3-point range this year. And you know, I do you know what the percentage is for the playoffs in total for the Heat?
Before last night, it was like 37. So right now, it must be like 38 or so.
And what was
number one in the NBA?
What was the season average?
I think it's around 34. I think.
Yeah. So okay,
makes a big difference. That makes a big difference. And that 37-38 is with the Heat shooting 30% in the second round.
Right.
They didn't shoot well against the Knicks.
That's right.
So you take that second round out. I mean, they shot 45% from three against the Bucks, and they shot over 50% from three against the Celtics. It's almost like they're shooting their competition, right? Like, if they need to make threes, they will. Against the Knicks, they didn't need to make threes to beat them. And they shot 30% and still won in 6 games.
Crazy stuff, man. Crazy stuff. All right. We look at Spo. Is he going to get this guy fired too?
I mean, it's his first year, right? I mean, they have to give him
I was talking about that. That this is terrible when you have an established team that has a championship type of aspirations, and then you throw a rook in there. That's the only part that I'm going to give Mazzulla a little bit of a break. You have thrown him into a pit that there's no way he's prepared for that.
Yeah.
There's just no way. It's just unfair to him. And so now he's going up against the seasoned coach in Eric Spoelstra. It's fucking crazy, dude. It really is.
Yeah. And that's what Eric Spoelstra always says. Obviously, Eric Spoelstra is always going to be on the side of coaches, but when he sees coaches getting fired, he's always points out, like, I'm so thankful that they gave me a long leash here, right? Like, I wasn't perfect in the beginning. I had the bad finals loss in 2010 to the 2011 to the Mavericks, which the Heat easily.
I don't blame him for that.
Look, a lot of teams would have.
He can take all the heat he wants. JJ Barea was posting up LeBron, bro. Please.
LeBron. Well, JJ Barea was guarding LeBron in the post.
Yes, that too.
But a lot of teams, this coach ends up being the scapegoat, and they get fired. And for Spo, he's been able to learn through all of that. And he's to me, I think, the best coach in the NBA.
Oh yeah.
And I thought that before this season. Like,
me too.
I think in the bubble was one of his most impressive coaching performances, and maybe this might top it. But
I got to tell you, the Scrubberinis, 31-10. My brother,
that was incredible too. Yeah.
Nobody goes 31-10 with those guys. Yeah. Not Popovich. Nobody. Not Pat Riley. Dare I say it?
Yeah.
Dare I say it? Spo's run so far is actually better than Pat Riley's on an X's and O's basis in Miami. I'm not going to add what he did with New York and the Lakers, then that would be ridiculous. There's no conversation. Right. But if I compare Riley Miami and Spo Miami, the upgrade is Spo.
Yeah, he found Spo though. So
if you can't handle the truth, I'm sorry, but Spo is a better coach than Riley in a Miami Heat uniform. I've been more impressed with The things, the blood clot years, bro. Are you effing me, bro? He had to change the offense every month and a half.
Yeah, and I think we've seen that just because you have 3 superstars doesn't mean you automatically win a title, right? And he didn't get enough credit even for that, handling all that whole era and leading them to 4 finals appearances and 2 championships, which was a success.
And the Dallas one, I don't blame him because LeBron had not graduated yet. He wasn't ready to really until the following year when the whole Boston thing, and finally that's when he kind of exercised the demons and he was out. And then the 4th year that they lost, brother, San Antonio played the greatest
they were playing perfect
basketball I have ever seen in my life, dude. In my life, I've never seen a team that clean. It reminded me of the old Celtics where Larry and these guys, the ball never touched the floor at times, where it was inbounded, pop, boop, pop, pop, and score. Boom, like that. It was quick. They do that a lot. Why? Because Bird was a passer, Dennis Johnson was a passer, Kevin McHale was a passer. So they had an Ainge, and they had all kinds of guys, and they all had this. And so they were extremely smart. Lakers were very good at that because Magic was the greatest at that. But to me, what I saw from the Spurs, brother, that was like the most picture perfect basketball I've ever seen. Those guys were so motivated to get back at the Heat.
Right.
That I've never seen a team more focused and more perfect than the San Antonio Spurs that year.
It felt like the Heat never really had a chance in this series. But going back to Spo, to me, what makes him such a great coach is he finds what a player is good at, and he just puts them in a role where those strengths, they can use those strengths. And he doesn't, and he really tries to shield them from their weaknesses. You see that all across the roster. Like, he puts players in positions to succeed, and is flexible with his system to make it work with different personnel. We see it every year. And I think that's so unique because there's so many teams that are kind of rigid, right? But the Heat have such, and that's what makes them a good playoff team. They play so many different styles depending on what lineup is on the court. They can play zone, they play man, they play drop, they pick you up full court. They can win by shooting a bunch of threes if they need to because Jimmy's out, or they can win by shooting 40 free throws or scoring 50 paint points. They can win in a ton of different ways based on the players, that are available that night. And that's, I think, a credit to Spo.
Yeah, no, I'm with you there. Our boy, the backup that came off the bench yesterday, played about 9 minutes. What's his name now? I'm brain farting.
Cody Zeller.
Does he get like one more chance for 9 more minutes? And then if he doesn't perform well, Spo adjusts to that? I don't think Spo gives up on you that quickly, but like I can deal with Duncan not playing well, but at only 7 minutes and 2 shots, it's not a big deal. He'd been shooting well up until that point, so it's not the end of the world. But Cody Zeller's game was a little off yesterday.
Yeah, it was a rough night for Cody. I think they'll give him another chance because I think they do need size, right? I mean, Celtics are a big team.
Yeah.
They're starting Robert Williams and Al Horford right now. And usually at least one of those guys are in the game. So you need size, and Orlando Robinson can't play. He's not eligible. Omer Yurtseven is not going to play. You could play Haywood Highsmith as a small ball center or Kevin Love as a small ball center, but I'm not sure if you want to go that route. So I think maybe the adjustment is Bam plays more minutes. I was kind of surprised.
That's what I was going to tell you, that others are going to have to play more minutes.
Yeah, I think Bam maybe plays like 3 more minutes. Maybe you only see Zeller for 4 or 5 minutes maybe in game 2. But I still think Zeller plays.
Yeah, no, I agree. I agree that he gives him another chance, but he can't be,
right. It was a rough night.
We say in Spanish, un cero a la izquierda. You know what I mean?
Right.
You
Wrong
can't.
way. Yeah.
You can't, bro. You can't.
Yeah.
They can't happen. So, what do you got going on in the Herald so folks can check you out, my friend?
Yes, today I posted 2 stories. One on the incredible Jimmy Butler, and just putting his playoffs into perspective, historical perspective of what he's accomplishing. And his great quote last night of saying he doesn't give a damn what anybody predicts the Heat to do or what if anybody picks them to win. And then a second story on, we laughed so much about the Celtics talking about winning quarters, right? Like that was a whole talking point a few series ago. And it's become a talking point after game 1 a little bit where they won 3 of the 4 quarters, but the Heat won because they outscored the Celtics by 21 in the third quarter. So just going over that third quarter, what went right for the Heat in that one, and obviously it proved to be the difference because, I mean, I guess technically the Celtics did outscore the Heat by 14 in the other 3 quarters, but the Heat won by 7 because they outscored the Celtics by 21 in the third.
All right. Before I let you go, I got to ask you.
Yeah.
So what did this referee have going on in the game yesterday after Butler made a shot? He acted like he had money on the game or he hates Butler or something. Referees are not supposed to have any emotions.
Sure.
They're supposed to just turn around and run down the court and get ready for the next play. They're not supposed to smile, laugh, like, or goes on in the court. They're supposed to do their job. And yesterday, a referee was caught, and we'll show you. Don't play the audio so we don't get busted with it. So here's Jimmy. Look at the referee. We'll play it for you. Okay? Here we go. So Jimmy makes the shot. Watch the reaction from the referee. So he goes in. He makes the shot. Check out the face of the ref.
I think he had a sharp stomach pain in that moment, and that's why he made that face. That's my prediction. Either that, or maybe sometimes how they'll call a foul if the shot doesn't go in, which I don't agree with, but sometimes that happens. Like they'll wait to see if the shot goes in.
Is this guy a distant cousin of Tim Donaghy?
I don't think so.
Just ask
but I don't think so.
Just ask. Okay. All right.
I have not seen that. I had not seen that clip. The internet finds everything. It's just incredible. Like
something was going there. Anyway, follow Twitter, Anthony Chiang. It's Anthony_Chiang, or is it Anthony Chiang? No,
Anthony_Chiang.
Yeah, Anthony _ Chiang. There you go. We don't remember phone numbers now. We remember Twitter handles. Follow him again, Anthony_Chiang, and then catch his work at the Miami Herald, and make sure you subscribe like I and many others do. Anthony, as always, my friend, enjoy the hockey tonight, man. They've got the culture shirts on too now. They're in hockey, so enjoy the hockey tonight and the basketball tomorrow in Beantown, baby.
Should be fun. It's the Panthers' turn tonight.
That's
Good
right.
times.
That's right. All right, my man. Appreciate you. Thank you. Anthony Chiang, man. Love it. Love it. Fantastic.
This is the Big O Show. This is the Big O Show.